Okay, let's get started. My name is Jerry Alexander. I'm the co-chair of the Dallas committee here for this wonderful gathering we're having for 2 days here. I'd like to welcome you all to Dallas, and I would like to call the General Session Luncheon of the State Bar of Texas to order. Today, like all days, is a great day to be a lawyer. And back over here in this part of the room, we have a bunch of lawyers that have practiced for 50 years, half a century, and they will be honored. They will be honored by name, the ones who came later in the program. This is also a time to thank everyone for the hard work that has gone into bringing this gathering. We've got a full room here today, and it's wonderful. The sponsors for this meeting, their names are on the back of your program. Please look at those. The State Bar of Texas sections have been very active and very generous in funding this, especially the family law section that is the sponsor for this luncheon. And this is the time when people are giving thanks where they're always saying thanks to the State Bar staff. And kind of like that guy in Harry Potter, we never say their names. Well, I'm going to say four names today that I know personally worked very hard to put this on. It's Jennifer Reams, Susan Brennan, Paul Burks, and Karen Truitt. And you need to understand the staff. The rest of them out here, they're in green shirts. They're the ones that checked you in. The ones that tell you where the rooms to go to. They're at all the meetings and everything. This is extra work for them. It's part of their job. They get paid. But it's extra work from them away from home, and they have to put up with a bunch of lawyers. And so it do a lot. If you just see one in a green shirt, just say thank you. That's great. Same thing goes with the people that are going to be serving today. Just say thank you. That would be very, very, very much appreciated. Okay. Today's program, we're gonna, like I said, we'll honor the 50-year lawyers. We're going to honor and thank Cindy Tisdale for her leadership through a great year. We're going to welcome and get Steve Benish off to a good start and get him sworn in. And at this time, I'm going to ask Austin Benish to come forward for the invocation.
Good afternoon. Would you please join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we gather today in fellowship and thanksgiving for the blessings you have bestowed upon us. We thank you for all those present, for the attorneys here among us. Grant them wisdom and discernment in their work, that they may uphold justice and fairness with integrity and compassion. Guide their hands in the matters they handle, and endow them with the strength and clarity to navigate complex situations. Bless them with the patience and perseverance as they advocate for their clients. We also ask for blessings upon their loved ones, who provide them with unwavering support and understanding. May they find comfort and encouragement in each other, especially during times of stress and long hours. As we share this meal together, deepen the bonds of friendship and community among us. Grant us grateful hearts for the bounty before us, and remind us to use our gifts and talents to serve others. May your light shine upon our conversations, and may we find joy in each other's company. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Austin. At this time, would everyone please rise for the presentation of the colors? Texas Department of Public Safety, North Texas Region Honor Guard, will you please present the colors at this time? And one hand off. At this time, I'll call Will Benish to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America flag and the Texas Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask John Mark Nolan to come and lead us in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the balls bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh, what? Let You may take your seats. Now, at this time, it's an honor and a privilege to represent the 2003-2024 President of the State Bar of Texas, Cindy Tisdale.
And the team budget.
Good afternoon. You know it's a great conference when you start losing your voice, right? So I'm a couple of octaves lower, and I apologize about that. But I'm here today to present 2 awards. The President's Award is given to a State Bar member that's determined to have rendered outstanding service. This year, the President's Award is being presented to Chief Justice Nathan L. Heck. Nathan L. Heck is the 27th Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Texas. He has been elected to the court 7 times, first in 1988 as a justice, and in 2014 and 2020 as Chief Justice. He was appointed to the District Court in 1981 and was elected to the Court of Appeals in 1986. Before taking the bench, he was a partner in a law firm in Dallas. He clerked for Judge Roger Robb on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit and was a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy Reserve Judge Advocate General's Corps. He is the longest-serving member of the Supreme Court in Texas history and is the longest tenured Texas judge in active service. Throughout his service on the court, he has overseen revisions to the rules of administration, practice, and procedure in Texas courts, and was appointed as the Chief Justice of the United States to the Federal Advisory Committee on Civil Rules. Chief Justice Heck is a past president of the National Conference of Chief Justices, a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, a life member of the American Law Institute, and a member of council, a member of the Texas Philosophical Society. For many years, he has led courts' efforts to assure that Texans living below the poverty level, as well as others with limited means, have access to basic legal services. He has diligently worked to secure congressional and legislative support for legal aid to veterans and their families, victims of domestic violence, and families in jeopardy of losing their homes. Texas is a leader in these efforts, due in large part to our distinguished Chief Justice. Chief Justice Hecken is retiring from the court at the end of this year, and it's my privilege to honor him for his extraordinary career and his exemplary commitment to our profession. Chief Justice Nathan Heck, thank you for your service. Next, I get to award the Certificate of Merit. This Certificate of Merit is presented to a Texas lawyer determined by the President to have made a great contribution to the legal profession and to the State Bar of Texas. This year, the Certificate of Merit is awarded to Harriet E. Myers. Harriet is a... Harriet Myers is a member of Law Board's Litigation and Public Policy section and a former managing partner. She returned to the firm in May 2007 after serving in the administration of President George W. Bush from 2001 to 2007 as Staff Secretary, Deputy Chief of Staff, and Counsel to the President. Prior to joining the White House, Ms. Myers had a distinguished career in her commercial litigation practice, representing a broad range of clients and varied interests. All along, she has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to her profession by serving in a variety of volunteer roles. She was the first woman president of the Dallas Bar Association. She was the first woman president of the State Bar of Texas. Ms. Myers has served as a Texas delegate to the ABA House of Delegates and twice chaired its Rules and Calendar Committee. She also served as chair of the ABA Journal Board of Editors and chaired the Board of Trustee for the Center for American and International Law. She is a co-chair of the Leaders Council for the Legal Services Corporation, a group organized to bring together community, business, and legal leaders to support greater access to legal services for our nation's low-income individuals and families. She currently serves as the Texas Access to Justice Commission Chair, where she has shown such great leadership in guiding the commission as it continues to explore ways to expand justice in our state. Ms. Myers has been inducted into the Texas Legal Legends, named by Texas Law Book as one of 50 Lions. I love that. 50 Lions of the Texas Bar, given the Sandra Day O'Connor Award by the Texas Center for Legal Ethics and Professionalism, and received the Texas Appleseed Good Apple Award. In 2022, she received the American Lawyers Lifetime Achievement Award, recognizing individuals who have left an indelible mark on the legal profession through their substantive area of work, as well as strong public service. It is my honor and pleasure to honor my friend, Harriet Myers, for her extraordinary career and her exemplary commitment to our profession. Harriet Myers.
All right, everyone. Now it's time to honor our 50-year lawyers, those lawyers who were licensed in Texas in 1974. And I think for the first time in the history of the State Bar of Texas, we have two Chief Justices of the Supreme Court of Texas on this list. One who's with us today, as you know, current Chief Justice Nathan L. Heck. The other one is former Chief Justice Thomas R. Phillips, and he does send his regrets. He needed to be in Austin for personal matters, but he is with us here in spirit. In addition to them, we are honored to have many 50-year lawyers with us today. In your own way, to everyone here that's a 50-year lawyer, each of you has played a role in building and strengthening this profession that we're proud to call our own. Congratulations on this milestone accomplishment. I'm going to ask that each of you stand as I call your name, and I'm going to ask that everyone in the room please hold your applause until the end of the list. Here we go. Rodney Acker, Norma Gonzalez-Baker, Jack Barbie, Robert Baxter Jr., Mark Bentley, Rhonda Brink, Barry Brooks, Kay Burkhalter, Bruce Cochran, David Coggin, Michael Coleman, Ulysses Cornelius Jr., Winfrey Courtney, Michael Curran, Monica Dixon Cunningham, Ernestine Walker Dansby, Richard Danish, Aljanita Scott Davis, Justice Rex Davis, Justice Diane Vinson de Basto, Thomas DeWitt, Sam Dick, Joan Edwards, Michael Ezel, James Francis, Rick Frazier, Charles Fredrickson, former Judge Richard Garcia, Dennis Gardner, Albert Giddens, Norman Gordon, Nick Haberer, John Harden, Belinda Hathcox, Michael Hayes, Chief Justice Nathan L. Heck, Jerry Hershey, Richard, also known as Dickie, Heil, Matthew Hoffman, Beatty Howard Jr., Irene Jackson, Jim Gerald, John Jennings, Richard Johnson, Randy Johnston, Judge Aaron Kaufman, Gerald Keith, Kathy R. Kelly, Judge Rob Kelly, Andy Kern, Stephen King, Frank Kenzel Jr., Robert Larea, Paul Licata, Hugh Lindsay, John Lopez III, Jim Lovelace, Michael Maloney, David McCall, Tom McCall, Tom Melton, Patrick Metz, Charles Miller Jr., Dick Miller, James Malloy Jr., Jeffrey Osgood, Judge Joe Parnell, John Payne, Jack Peacock Jr., Richard H. Peoples, Paulin, Stephen Potts, Joseph Preston, Greg Rogers, Howard Rubin, Barbara Runge, Gordon Russell, Carlos Ryerson, Stephen Schiff, William Schipple, Arnie Schoenberger, Roy Stacy, Patrick Teeling, Ronald Thornton, Robert Timby, Dana Moore Walton, William Wiles, Damon Young. Before we thank this year's 50-year lawyers for their service, did I miss anyone? And if so, please stand and be recognized. Please join me, everyone, in congratulating these distinguished members of our profession.
And I just want to add my sentiments to Ms. Wooten. Thank you so much for your years of service. I'm not there yet, but I hope to be one day. I stand here before you today as the current president of the State Bar of Texas for 10 more minutes. But who's counting, right? I'm the 143rd president and the 9th woman president of the State Bar. And I tell you what a ride it has been. It has been such an honor and pleasure. I want to briefly, I would be remiss, I have to thank a few people, so bear with me just a minute. I said this last night, if you were at the president's party, you're going to hear it again because it's worth hearing again. I consider myself, I have 4 families. I have what I now consider my State Bar family. Trey Apfel, Jennifer Ream, Susan Brennan, Tammy Cano. They not only make the bar run, they make me look good. And that's a difficult job sometimes. But I'll tell you what, everyone in the State Bar, I now consider my family, and I want to thank them so much for their support and encouragement all year. Second, I have my family law family. Yes, my family law family. As some of you may not know, I'm a family law attorney. And I'm a little bit biased maybe, but I think the family law bar is the most collegial bar there is. But I want to thank the family law bar for their support and encouragement all year. I also have my Lawrence and Bain Osley family, my work family, and I want to thank them. You know, being president takes a little bit of time away from your work, believe it or not. And I want to thank them for their support this past year. And then last but not least, my family, my daughter, Anna, my son, Andrew, who's practicing with me now, and his fiancée, Grace. So I want to thank all of them and recognize them because I could not have done it this year without them. Thank you. And let's get real. I know a lot of you didn't come to hear me. We're all here for the star of the day. But I want to recap just a little bit of what I have done this past year. As president, I have focused our bar on moving forward in areas including artificial intelligence, lawyer well-being, the bane of all of our existence, vacation letters, and civility. And I'm so proud of all of what we have accomplished this year. After meeting throughout the year, the Presidential Task Force for Responsible AI in the Law, or TRAIL as we call it, has issued a thoughtful report to the board on issues surrounding AI and its use in the practice of law. Their work provides a very strong foundation as the bar continues to address one of the most dramatic technological changes in our lifetimes. Let's get real, people. It's not coming. It's here. We should all be grateful for this task force efforts. On the well-being front, this is one thing I'm most proud of. On May 1st, the bar launched a new program, and it's a new member benefit with BetterHelp.com. BetterHelp is now offering all 114,000 plus attorneys, plus paralegals that are members of the paralegal division and law students that are members of the law student division, 1 month of free counseling, and then 15% off counseling thereafter. It's an online platform, and I'm truly thankful for this program and the work the State Bar staff did in getting it up and running, because I truly think it's going to help lawyers. And so thank you for that. At the same time, I've worked with the State Bar and trying to make vacation letters. I can't say it without a sigh. Vacation letters. We're going to try to make it easier. After extensive work on this issue by the bar's Law Practice Management Committee, I'm very happy to announce the Office of Court Administration is now working to take it under their wing and add vacation letters to their system. I hope that will make it easier for lawyers throughout the state in getting that one little thing off of your plate. Finally, hundreds of lawyers, and I don't know if there's anybody in this room, but to see what I call my traveling presentation of what would Ted Lasso do? I hear some chuckles. I am a Ted Lasso fanatic. I love Ted Lasso, if you didn't know that about me. But what we learned from Ted Lasso is how we can be civil in the practice of law. My favorite quote is, every choice is a chance. And I really took that to heart this year. Every choice that I would make as president of the State Bar, I hoped I had the chance to do the right thing, and I hope I did do the right thing. And I hope all of you will take that home with you. Every choice you make in your practice, to show grace to opposing counsel, to show grace to others around you, to take on that difficult task. I hope you carry that on, because let's get real. We all need a little bit more Ted in our lives. So thank you so much for this opportunity to serve you. I hope along the way I've helped at least one of you, and I hope in the future the benefits and programs we have put into place this year will help many more. This may be the end of my term, but as Ted Lasso said, the last program name was So Long, Farewell, but it's not goodbye. You can't get rid of me that quickly. I'm a bar junkie, and I'm proud to say that. And I look forward to serving the bar any way I can, and serving at the pleasure of the next president of the State Bar of Texas, Steve Benish. It is now my privilege and honor to introduce our incoming president of the State Bar of Texas, the 144th president, Steve Benish.
Anyway. Please.
I have a little bit more to say about Steve, real quick. Steve Benish is a seasoned, I like the word seasoned instead of older, Steve. Steve Benish is a seasoned business litigator in his 36th year of practice at Bracewell. He has represented clients in diverse matters, including securities, class action, business torts, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, deceptive trade practices, breach of contract, and products liability. Steve began his service to our profession more than 20 years ago as a member of the Austin Bar Association, culminating in his service as the Austin Bar President in 2006-2007. He then served on the State Bar Board of Directors from 2008 to 2011 and chaired the State Bar Annual Meeting in 2014, for which he received a presidential citation. From 2017 to 2023, he served on the Texas Bar Foundation Board of Trustees, including service as its chair. And that only just begins to scratch the surface of his commitment and service to our bar. Among his many recognitions, Steve has twice received the Austin Bar Association President's Award for Outstanding Service, and he will now bring that outstanding service to the State Bar as our next president. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our next president of the State Bar of Texas, Steve Benish, and Senior Justice Deborah Lehrman, who will administer the oath.
It is my sincere privilege to swear in Steve Benish as the 144th president of the State Bar of Texas. I've gotten to know him and his lovely wife, Jennifer, over the past few years, and I can tell you he is one of the most wonderful, as is she, persons that I've ever had the good privilege of knowing. And I know he's going to make us all very, very proud. As women, we've had a pretty good run of it for 3 years. We have Sylvia Firth, Laura Gibson, and Cindy Tisdale. They've all served with grace, dignity, and hard work. So Steve has some really, really high heels to fill. And I know he's going to do it with equal grace, dignity, and hard work. I'm looking so forward to the next year. So, with that,
go.
Please raise your right hand. I, Steve Benish,
I, Steve Benish,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office of President
the duties of the office of President
of the State Bar of Texas
of the State Bar of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution and the laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of Texas.
and of Texas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You're going to do great. We're going to go ahead and break you it.
Do you think she's the about it? Accurate. As I start out, and I'm going to go between my adolescent boy voice and my late night, all hits all the time radio voice. Here's a tip for you. If you go to the President's Party on Thursday night and there's a great band and you love to dance and you know all the words to the songs you're dancing to, this is the voice you get on Friday. So please forgive the raspiness of my voice. Greetings. I want to thank all of you for being here. I hope you're enjoying the annual meeting. Kudos, congratulations to our host annual meeting committee. What a wonderful annual meeting it has been. I want to thank Justice Lehrman for swearing me in, just as she swore me in a year ago as president-elect. Justice Lehrman, I so appreciate you, as do so many citizens in the state of Texas. I am honored to be the 144th president of the State Bar of Texas, and I look forward to building on the efforts of my predecessors, Cindy and all those, President Tisdale and all those before us, to stand upon their shoulders as we all work together to strengthen the bar and the legal profession in Texas. I want to thank Cindy Tisdale, my friend, Cindy Tisdale, for her introduction, as well as her exemplary and excellent service as president over this past year. I also want to congratulate my friends, our new president-elect, Santos Vargas, and our new chair of the State Bar Board, Paul Stafford. Thank you both, gentlemen. Thank you. Along with all of the new State Bar directors who were sworn in yesterday, we have a tremendous leadership team, and there is much to accomplish this year for our bar, and I am ready and excited to render service in that. If you'll allow me, there are a number of personal thanks I would like to give to those who are in attendance here. First and foremost, I want to give my thanks to the Lord, to God, for having this opportunity, this blessing, to be able to serve in this position. And it will be my continuing prayer that He alone receive the glory for this service and no one else. I want to thank my wife, my lovely, incredible wife, Jennifer, for her grace, for her patience, lots of that, for her wisdom, for her love, not just during my campaign, not just during my year as president-elect, but for all the wonderful 39 years of our marriage. I love you, sweetie. Thank you. I want to thank our sons, Will and Austin, who you heard from earlier. Austin with the prayer, Will with the pledges. I still call them boys. Boys, thank you so much for being here. You had to travel to get here. I love you, and thank you for becoming the men of character that your mom and I always wanted you to be. See, this is great, because you can't tell whether it's last night's me singing to the music or me choked up. I love this. I would like to thank the other members of my family who are here, my brother Greg and his wife Dana, my sister Tracy and her husband Ken, my nephew Barrett, my cousin David. Two of Jennifer's siblings are here, my brother-in-law Mark and his wife Rita, my sister-in-law Patrice and her husband Mike, our dear friends Mark and Amanda Nolan, and you heard Mark lead us in the national anthem a little bit earlier. And special thanks to my law partners who are here today, Kelly Frells and Warren Harris, with particular thanks. And I do want to mention my mentor, my friend, my law partner, Jelly Frells, and his wonderful wife, Carmilla, who was sworn in as State Bar President exactly 20 years ago. You have no idea how profound the influence that both of you had on both of us. And so I am so thankful for that. I lastly want to thank my law firm, our law firm, Bracewell, for believing in self-governance, which requires that every firm support their attorneys as they move into positions of service and leadership with the bar. Bracewell has been incredible and encouraged in supporting me, and I am so thankful for it. I'm Texas born and bred, born and raised in Texas. I grew up in a Texas town where, for better or worse, everybody knew my father. And I was kind of, you could say, born into the law. I was actually born while my father was a law student at St. Mary's Law School. Any St. Mary's grads here? Can I hear it? They actually had to take a note to him in class when my mother went into labor, so I was born into the law. And certainly I felt steeped in it growing up in Wichita Falls in North Texas, where it seemed like everybody knew my father. In fact, he served for a period of years as a judge. And so at times and in places really where I least expected it and least wanted it, someone would inevitably say, "Hey, aren't you Judge Benish's boy?" That certainly made me mindful of both my comments and my conduct when I was moving around my hometown. But if that wasn't enough, from time to time, my dad would remind me about the importance of maintaining a good reputation. Sometimes when I was heading out the door to go on a date or to go hang out with friends for the evening, he would say, "Your first name is yours, but your last name is mine. Bring it home in one piece." And as far as I know, I did. In 2022, 2 years ago, after 35 years of legal practice, I allowed someone to place my name into a hat as a possible candidate for president-elect of the state bar. And 2 years later, here I stand. I didn't do it because I wanted to stroke my own ego or pad my own resume. I decided to run for state bar because I wanted to do all I could with all of my energy and all of my zeal to keep our legal profession here in Texas, which is buffeted by all the high-pressure demands of our calling and faces the erosion of civil discourse in our society and among lawyers, to do what I could to keep our legal profession in Texas in one piece. And so I'd like to share with you just a few of the initiatives that I hope that we are able to advance over the next year. The first is docket assistance. I would like to work with the State Bar of Texas and the Texas Lawyers Assistance Program to expand the opportunities for docket assistance for attorneys who need to step back from their practices to seek treatment and help for the mental health and substance use issues that they are battling. Volunteer lawyers who can keep attorneys' dockets afloat and keep their clients informed on a temporary basis while lawyers can get the help they need. And I'm excited about that. Another one that I look forward to playing a part in is standardizing electronic filing across every county in Texas. I want to...
Thank you.
Yeah, I got a lot of that on the campaign trail, too, when I mentioned that. I look forward to working with the Office of Court Administration, the Texas District Clerks, the Texas Judicial Committee on Information Technology, and other stakeholders to standardize electronic filing across all counties in Texas. As many of us know, the variability of the electronic filing protocols from county to county has created an untenable patchwork quilt of these differing protocols that unnecessarily exasperate and frustrate many lawyers and their clients. And so I look forward to playing a role as a stakeholder and facilitating that conversation and that change. Immediate past President Tisdale a moment ago mentioned artificial intelligence. Another thing I want to do is to continue and complete the work begun by President Tisdale of identifying and establishing the role of the state bar in connection with the use of artificial intelligence by Texas attorneys. AI is here to stay, folks, and we, both individually and as a profession, need to embrace it. Indeed, Comment 8 to the Disciplinary Rule 1.01, that's Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct, states that, quote, each lawyer should strive to become and remain proficient and competent in their practice of law, including the benefits and risks associated with relevant technology. And that would include AI. So it's here to stay, and I look forward to figuring out what about AI constitutes the practice of law and how we can find a role for the State Bar in connection with that. Another thing, the last thing I want to mention to you as far as initiatives is website enhancement. I would like to work with the State Bar to make the website easier to navigate, the State Bar's website easier to navigate, more user-friendly, and among other things, I would like to have the State Bar website include a searchable database accessible from the website's main page with the clear and concise answers to all of the most common questions that are asked by Texas lawyers and by members of the general public. In closing, let me go back to my father, who I began with for just a moment. My father's admonitions about preserving my name and reputation have reverberated through the decades of my life. Indeed, he is never far from me. His law license hangs directly above mine on the wall by my desk, and his gavel sits on a shelf in my office. Let us all of us here in this coming year, commit ourselves to those tenets that we profess. And as a profession, we are so because we profess. And what is it we profess that keep our noble profession in one piece? Civil discourse, integrity, respect, and courtesy. And with that, I want to thank you again for electing me as the president of the State Bar. I am committed to serving you, and I look forward to serving as your president, and my door is always open. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our keynote speaker this afternoon. The Honorable Irma Carrillo Ramirez was sworn in as Judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit on December 11th, 2023. Prior to her appointment, she served as a United States Magistrate Judge for the Northern District of Texas, Dallas Division, since 2002. Prior to her judicial service, she was an Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, Dallas Division, where she spent time in both the criminal and civil divisions, and as an Associate Attorney in the General Commercial Litigation section of the law firm of Locke Purnell, Rain Harrell, LLP. She received her law degree from Southern Methodist University School of Law in Dallas, Texas, where she was a Sarah T. Hughes Diversity Fellow and a Bachelor of Arts degree from West Texas State University. She has served our State Bar of Texas in many, many roles, and we are excited to hear from her today. Please help me welcome Judge Irma Carrillo Ramirez.
Well, it's kind of been an interesting year. But before I talk about my journey to the center of the circuit, first of all, I'd like to thank the State Bar of Texas for the honor of being invited to speak to this auspicious group. I'd also like to thank all of the bar leaders. I had the privilege in 2022 through 2023 to serve as the federal judicial liaison to the State Board of Directors. And I was so impressed by the dedication of the bar leaders, the extraordinary amount of time and energy that they give in service to the organization. And we all owe them a debt of gratitude for their willingness to step up and serve. I also want to thank my dear friend Vicki. We met our first year of law school for that wonderful introduction. She knows where the bodies are buried. And she's keeping my secret, so thank you, my dear friend. During the confirmation process, it was widely reported that I would be the first Latina to sit on the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. Like many persons of color of a certain age, there have been multiple instances on my path of being the first or being the only. When the opportunity arose to be considered for an appointment to the Fifth Circuit, I was so focused on what an incredible honor it was, as well as the intensity of the application and confirmation process, that I didn't really think about this being another first, or that this one might be different. After all, a Latina had been appointed to the United States Supreme Court in 2009. That was 2 decades ago, right? But I've come to see that for me, this first was different. I'll come back to the how and the why. But I'm going to start at the beginning of my journey. My father came to this country from Mexico in the late 50s under what was then known as the Bracero program, to work in the cotton fields of West Texas. That's where he met my mother. Her family had migrated from South Texas to work in those same fields where she was born. I grew up on the ranch where my father worked. I rode the bus to school for the 12 miles from Tokyo, Texas. Yes, there's a Tokyo, Texas, to the big city of Plains, population 1,200-ish, until we moved into town when I was 10. As a child, I remember my father saying, "Estudia, mija, study, daughter, so you don't have to work in the fields like I do." The summers I spent hoeing cotton in those fields only reinforced his message. I always knew I was going to college someday, although I didn't really understand how. Both of my parents had very little schooling, and college wasn't something that we all understood. They agreed to let me go, but 3 hours away was as far as my mother was willing to allow her oldest child, a girl, to go, and only because her sister lived 15 minutes away from the university I would be attending. I first became interested in the law through speech and debate class in high school, which I took as a sophomore. I signed up for it because I refused to take home economics to learn to sew and cook. Joke's on me. I spent a fortune on tailors having suit jackets shortened and pants hemmed. I loved the debate, the speech, the give and taking, the extemporaneous speaking, arguing with my teacher and being allowed to. But it wasn't until the summer after my first year of college that the goal of becoming a lawyer was really cemented for me. I had the opportunity to work for the part-time county attorney with district attorney responsibilities in Yoakum County. And even though it was just a clerical position and I did a lot of typing, he made the time to talk to me about being a lawyer and showing me one of the cases he was working on. He was prosecuting a man who had beaten his girlfriend's 2-year-old son to death. And it was then that I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to help people, and I wanted to put away bad guys who hurt little kids. My goal of becoming a lawyer went so far beyond my father's dream of an inside job with air conditioning that becoming a judge was something we couldn't even begin to imagine, much less dream. Getting a law degree was as far as I could dream, because that's all that I had been exposed to. Having the opportunity to work at a big law firm in a really nice office in a downtown skyscraper in a major metropolitan area was more than I ever thought possible, and I'm so grateful to the law firm for that opportunity. In fact, I got a chance to work with the incomparable Harriet Myers there. I actually didn't really know what the U.S. Attorney's Office was when someone suggested to me that I might want to go get some trial experience there. Remember, my experience was the part-time county attorney in Yoakum, Texas, with district responsibilities, and an internship at the Dallas DA's office after my first year of law school. When a supervisor at the U.S. Attorney's Office suggested that I consider applying for a magistrate judge's position, that was truly something that I had never, ever envisioned myself doing. Getting that job so far exceeded what I thought was possible for me then, and I am so fortunate to have had the opportunity to serve on the front line of the federal judicial system for 21 years. I really thought I was going to retire there. So how does a magistrate judge, a mere Article I appointee, get nominated for a federal circuit court? Honestly, I still really don't know. But maybe it's because I had been nominated before. I had the honor of being nominated in 2016 for a district court bench. I went through that process for 3 years. It was voluminous paperwork, vetting, and background checks going back to my 18th birthday, digging up every address I'd ever lived at since then, including my apartments in college, every job, paid, unpaid internship, every speech, interview, article, social media, anything I had done. There was no public speaking. And after the nomination, there was ultimately a Senate confirmation hearing in a group of 4 other judges. It was right before the election, and we were told that we would get a vote out of committee after the election, no matter what happened. And then the election happened, and I got a telephone call. And I was told that there would not be a vote, and that the nominations would be returned to the Senate. A single sob escaped my throat before I could stop it. My heart knew what my mind was just starting to process. My journey to the bench was over. I accepted the end of that journey. It had nothing to do with me. I had to remember that, who I was as a person or how I did my job. Purely politics. So I decided that I wanted to give purpose to that experience. Maybe the point was for me to use what I had learned to help someone else succeed. So I started taking every opportunity that I could to speak to law students and young attorneys about the nomination process, to put some light on it, and to tell them how far back it goes so they could start preparing. After all, I had just watched the Kavanaugh hearings. If a 50-something-year-old Supreme Court nominee still had his calendars from high school, then the law students were way behind already. Using my experience to educate others about the process is how I made my peace with that failed nomination. And that's where I was when I got a call asking if I would like to be considered for an appellate court. There's only one right answer to that question, right? Yes, please. But when I began that paperwork, the emotion from the failed nomination came flooding back. In that moment, I didn't think I had the heart or the strength to go through another application process, knowing that this one would be far more arduous and far more intense, and the chances of success practically non-existent. I really wasn't going to do it. I was flipping through my old paperwork, and it fell open to the lists of the schools that I'd spoken to in the student groups. And I thought about them, watching them in my courtroom, playing the roles of judges and lawyers, and the realization on their faces that these were possibilities for them. And I was struck by the irony. How do I continue to continually tell students and young lawyers and more seasoned lawyers not to give up, to dream beyond their circumstances, and to not be afraid to take chances, and yet not jump at an opportunity that I could not have imagined, even after 20 years on the bench, for fear of more disappointment? That's not how you lead. So I took that leap. I thought I would be teaching those students how not to give up, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, and even when you don't think you have a chance. In actuality, they were teaching me. With the support of the Texas senators and the agreement by the White House, I was able to have a relatively smooth confirmation process. The stars finally aligned in my favor. So was this first different? Yes. I want to start by acknowledging that while I am the first Latina on the Fifth Circuit, I'm not the first Hispanic. I stand on the shoulders of those who went before me. Reynaldo G. Garcia was appointed in 1979, and he served until 1982 when he took senior status, and he remained on senior status until his death in 2004. Judge Garza was actually the first Hispanic appointed to a federal circuit court in the entire United States. Emilio Garza was appointed in 1991, and he served until 2012 when he took senior status, where he remained until 2015. Fortunato Benavides was appointed in 1994. He also took senior status in 2012, and he served in that capacity until his death last year. Ed Prado was appointed in 2003, and he served until 2018 when he stepped down to become the ambassador of Argentina. So what made this different? The first indication was the extent of the response I received to my nomination and confirmation. I'd spoken to students in my courtroom hundreds of times, but all of a sudden, I started hearing from students outside the courtroom at all sorts of events, and they would seek me out. That takes work. I've been told I'm easy to miss in a crowd. That's a short joke. It's okay to laugh. I made it. My nomination was referenced in the cover letters that I receive with application packets for clerkships. Last week, I heard at a luncheon that my appointment was being mentioned in letters and essays that accompanied applications for scholarships. And it wasn't just the students. It was attorneys and judges as well. I was at a program last fall put on by the Texas Latinx judges for students to encourage them to think about the pathway to the bench. And I met some amazing Latina judges and Latino judges. And one of them came up to me to tell me what my nomination had meant to her. And she started to cry, which made me, of course, want to start to cry. And it wasn't lawyers and judges, paralegals, members of the families of lawyers that I knew. An actor and comedian posted about Latinas making history. I was also the subject of an article called Blue Hairs and Blue Slips. Yeah. I'll save my reflections on ageism for another time. So why the level of response 14 years after the first Latina had been appointed to the highest court on the land? I started to look at some statistics. As of September of 2023, in the nation's history, there had only been 161 Latinx judges out of more than 3,900. That's 4%. This information predates several appointments, including mine, but those were the latest statistics I could find. 5 of 13 federal circuit courts had no Latinos or Hispanics. 3 of 13 federal circuits had never had a Latino or Latina. And you'll see those on the slide. Those are in white. The ones in the light gray have only had 1. The ones in the light green have had 2. Depending on which source you look at, there have only been 26 or 27 Hispanic judges who've ever served on a federal circuit court. Only 14 were active in September of 2023 per the Congressional Research Service. And those 14 active judges comprise 8% of the 172 active circuit judges in the United States. At the district court level, 58 district courts have never had a Hispanic judge. 29 states have never had a Hispanic judge. There are currently 84 active Hispanic judges and 32 seniors on the federal courts. And combined, that's 8% of all active and senior lifetime judges. Hispanics make up more than 19% of the population in the United States. As for Latinas, as of March of 2024, there have been 58 lifetime confirmations. That's less than 1.5% of those more than 3,900. 70 of 91 Article III courts have never had a Latina Article III judge. 8 of 13 federal circuit courts had never had a Latina judge. 38 states have never had a Latina judge. That's the purple states shown. 6 of the 14 active Hispanic circuit judges as of September were women, at least 2 appointed since then and 1 pending nomination. But this started to show me and to explain the response that I was getting. So to bring it a little closer to home, I looked at the state bar information. This is from the state bar's website, and this is for 23 through 24. There were more than 111,000 attorneys who were members of the State Bar of Texas. Of that, less than 25,000 are minority, a little over 11,000 are Hispanic, and a total of 4.47% are Latina. Here it is a pie chart. You can see the blue is the non-minority attorneys. All of the peach is the minority attorneys. And as it gets progressively darker in shade, you get to the 4% of Latinas. So how does that compare to the population in Texas? Minorities make up 61% of the population in Texas, and these estimates are for 2022, so it's not exactly apples to apples. Non-minorities made up 39%. Hispanics made up the largest demographic, 40%. The next chart breaks it down. Latinas are roughly half of the Hispanic population. So 20% of the population in Texas is Latina, and 4% of the state bar is Latina. Here are the charts side by side. Here's another chart. Looking at these numbers and statistics really gave me perspective. Justice Sotomayor explained it aptly when describing a conversation that she had with a friend about the intensity of the nomination process. And her friend responded to her, Sonia, this is not about you. This is about my 8-year-old daughter seeing someone like herself in one of the highest positions in the United States and knowing that she too has a chance. This is what the Hispanic and Latinx students, attorneys, and judges were telling me, that they could see themselves in my appointment, that they could relate to my journey because of our shared experience. Being first generation, or children of immigrants, the first in our families to go to college, the first in our families to go to law school, being the only person in the room who looks like you, growing up in a rural community, being a child of farm workers. And although the biggest response was from Hispanics, I also got a lot of response and outreach from non-Hispanics. I think about it like that movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Few of us are Greek, but we all saw our families. Change the ethnicity and the plot stays the same, and the family dynamics stay the same. My story isn't just about Hispanics. It is far broader than that. It's about people who also share the same experiences. So I finally completed my journey to the circuit. What does it look like from the inside? Well, my chief judge is sitting there, so I'm not going to show you the secret handshake. But I am going to give you the overview. Fifth Circuit covers 3 different states, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. We have 17 authorized judges and 8 senior judges. And for Texas, these judges sit in Houston, Austin, and Dallas, although we all travel to New Orleans for argument. Oral arguments are now live streamed. The circuit has a YouTube channel. And I mentioned my chief is here. We're going to have a new chief in the fall, and she will hand over the baton to Judge Jennifer Elrod. I joined an amazing and hardworking group. The red, that's the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, 5740 new appeals filed. The blue is the national average. Most of the appeals to the court come from the state of Texas, almost 70%. If you look at the kinds of cases we hear, the biggest category is criminal cases at 35%, and the next highest is prisoner appeals at 22%. Disposition time between filing the notice of appeal to an opinion is about 8 months. If there is an oral argument, then that increases to 13 months. The number of total opinions in 2023 was 2,786. 404 of those were published, and 2,382 were not published. Here's another graph where you can see the total in blue, the non-published opinions in red, and the published opinions in green. Here's the published opinion percentage comparison by graph. This is per curiam versus signed. The length of opinions on average is about 14 pages, although that just doesn't seem right here lately. I think our average is going to go up. Not just because of me, I promise. %98 of the total number of panel opinions are without dissent. Only 2.3% have dissents or concurrences in dissents. And the total number of panel opinions with dissenting opinions is only 1.6%. So we're largely an agreeable group. The reversal rate is very low. For the court year ending June 30th, 2023, the court reversed only 7.4% of the appeals. And if you look at the calendar year that ended in December of 2023, that's actually 6.3. It's the third lowest reversal rate for all appellate courts in the United States. We had 163 petitions for rehearing filed this year, 109 for en banc rehearing. And here's the real teller. The Fifth Circuit has the highest weighted caseload at 700 of any of the federal circuits, according to the administrative office. The next highest is the 11th Circuit at 655. So it's an incredibly hard-working group. Looking back over my journey, still seems like a dream. I wake up and think, is this the day I find out it wasn't real? I'm incredibly grateful for and so honored for the opportunity to serve as a United States Circuit judge, to work with the amazing judges who also serve on the court. But I am truly humbled to learn that my appointment allowed others to see themselves and to hear their stories represented, no matter who they were, where their parents were from, what their parents did, whether they knew any lawyers. It doesn't matter. I'm honored that my appointment allowed them to believe in the possibilities for their future and that of their children. And I hope that it can remind us to never give up, no matter what, because you never know what lies ahead of you on your journey. Thank you for allowing me to share mine with you today.
Let's go.
Thank you, Judge. Thank everyone for coming. We'll be adjourned now, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day, the rest of your time in Dallas, and the rest of your careers. Thank you.
How we do.